Okay, hello students. Welcome back to yet another session on biology. And today the topic is going to be how do organisms reproduce. So, you might have seen, little babies, you might have, seen offsprings. Offsprings is nothing but, the next generation or the babies of the different animals or organisms are called as offspring. Okay. So you might have noticed, right, that some child in your home, and you might have seen that they have, characteristics. Sometimes, looks like their father, sometimes they look like their mother, sometimes they look like their grandparents, right? So some characteristics is shown by this and that other parents. Okay, so that is what we are going to discuss today. Not exactly that, but we'll start with how do organisms reproduce. Okay, how one organism can create other organism. And today we will talk about asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction is, first thing, it needs only single parent. Okay, single parent, what do we mean by that? Only one parent can reproduce and make a similar offspring. What kind of offspring they'll make? They'll make genetically identical offspring. That means by genes, these organisms would be similar. They look exactly like, everything would look like their parent only. Okay, almost like a clone. Okay, and simple organisms. So common in unicellular and simpler multicellular forms. Okay, so this happens in very, very simple or simpler organisms. Okay, and today we are going to talk about around 4 to 5 you can say, or basically 4 asexual modes of reproduction. First is fission, second is budding, third is spore formation, and fourth is vegetative propagation. Okay, so all these methods only need one and one, you can say, parent. Okay, so first is fission. Fission is nothing but splitting apart. That means that one cell, if it has nucleus like this, it will start splitting apart. Okay, like this. Okay, it will start splitting like this. And the binary, there are two types of fissions also. One is binary, that means parent splits into two equal parts. They'll divide into two equal parts, and now the new organism, there are two identical organisms are formed. Okay, so example is amoeba, paramecium. Then multiple fission. So here parents split into many parts. So they can split into a lot of parts and at once. And the example is plasmodium. So plasmodium cells, they split like this, forming a lot of different other plasmodiums. Okay, so that we'll discuss in depth later. So here you can see the image, right? Amoeba binary fission. Okay, now that was not particularly amoeba, because if we go back, let me just tell you one thing here. So amoeba, what it does is it has irregular structure. So keep that in mind. Amoeba has irregular structure. Okay, moving ahead. Now the second one is budding. So budding is also asexual mode of reproduction. Here what happens, the best example is hydra. So hydra starts growing small buds, okay? And these buds will detach once they mature a little bit. And then after detaching, it will fall onto the substratum and form a new complete organism. So picture a tiny outgrowth or a small bird like this, okay, forming on the parent organism. This bud later grows larger and develops into a complete new organism. Okay, now there is bud formation. The first thing is, then there is growth of that bud, it develops and then it separates out, like I told you. Example is hydra and yeast. Okay, then third is spore formation. So spore formation is like tiny, survival capsule. So what happens sometimes in unfavorable conditions, some organisms have this capacity, so that they can withhold that unfavorable condition by providing a, coating or covering, a hard covering to it. Okay, and once they survive it over a certain period of time, once the conditions are favorable, so that then that it will burst out and it will leave or release a lot of spores like this. Spores will be out after this will burst. Okay, this this encystment or this covering, once it will burst, open, it will release a lot of spores. Now, these spores are very, very lightweight and they are resistant to a lot of, you can say unfavorable conditions. So they will lie here and there. Maybe it is not the favorable time for them to grow. So it will take some time. When the temperatures are, better, then it can grow. Its dispersal is easy. It can be with wind, water, or even animals can carry them through different locations because the weight is very, very light. Okay. And it can get stick into the paws of the animals, or on the legs of the animals, right? Quick growth. So develops into new organisms very rapidly. Okay. Then last is vegetative propagation. So plants make their own copies. Okay. Plants have developed a lot of ways to make their own copies with their parts itself, like roots, stem, and leaves. Okay, instead of seeds. So seed is sexual reproduction. Apart from that, any plant part which is taking, part in the reproduction comes under vegetative reproduction. So if a leaf is taking part in reproduction, or maybe a stem, or maybe, roots of a plant, that is called as vegetative propagation. Okay. So the natural methods here would be tubers. So potatoes, as you might have seen potatoes. So potato may be having eyes like this. And sometimes if you leave potato for a very long time, you can try it with a very small potato, okay? It'll start growing something here and it's not healthy to eat as well. So this is basically vegetative propagation. If you cut this out and put it under soil and give, enough condition, water, air, and everything else, it will grow into a plant and then, another potato. Okay. Now rhizome. So rhizome of ginger also spreads underground. So in ginger, you might have seen, a root like this. These are nothing but rhizome of ginger. So if you will take this part out, again, this can grow into complete new organism. Leaf buds. So bryophyllum is one kind of, you can say plant whose leaves, there grow baby leaves on that. Okay, now these baby leaves can grow into, complete different or new organism. Now there are artificial method to grow plants, which we use in our gardening, a lot of places. So first is cutting. You just cut a plant stem. Okay, maybe a rose stem you will cut and you will just put it somewhere in the, ground, and it will start generating or growing its roots, okay, and leaves and different parts. Okay, now grafting. You can join two different set of plant stem. Okay, maybe you can cut this part, right? And you can cut this part of another plant of the same species, and you will join them together to get another healthy plant. So it will look something like, this. Okay. So it will start germinating into another plant. Layering. Layering is like bend branches to the soil. What you will do is your plant is like this, right? Now you will bend the branch into the soil and let it, grow a little bit of root. So once this plant B also grows a little bit of root, you can cut this off and there will be two plants. Okay. Tissue culture, you can grow plants in labs as well. Okay. So advantages, what are the advantages? Why asexual reproduction is important, or what exactly it gives us? It is lightning fast. That means it is happening at a very high speed or high rate. Okay. Then there is, solo act. So that means only one parent is required. There is no need of two parents. Genetic stability. That means whatever genetics was there in previously in the parent, that will continue to be there in the offspring as well. Okay. And perfect for stability. So excellent when the environment stays the same. So if environment is not changing much, this is the one of the best reproduction method which can be, because the organisms will not, mutate. There won't be much variation. So they will survive that particular environment very easily. Okay. Okay, now what are the disadvantages? So disadvantage are there is no variation. So suppose if there is suddenly extreme, change in the condition, environmental condition, so these organisms won't be able to survive easily because their genetic makeup is such that it is very, very narrowed down. Okay, and they can survive only certain extent of, heat or cold or anything. Now, disease vulnerability. So if one gets sick, all the clones are likely to get that disease because there is sorry, again, there is no variation. So that is why that happens, because there won't be resistant to that particular disease, and the offspring will also be not resistant to that particular disease. Limited evolution, again, there is no variation. So no beneficial traits will be, generated again and again later. So that's why many organisms go for sexual reproduction, because it creates variation, which is helpful in, generating more and more desirable characters, or more wide characters, which can help us survive different extreme conditions. So even if one person gets sick from one kind of disease, the other person genes is such, vary, it will vary from that person's gene, that that person might not catch that disease, okay, and that the species continue to live. Okay, let me just now clear this. 1 second. Okay, so now you can answer these questions. So first is, which organism reproduces by budding? Is it Hydra? Is it amoeba? Is it rhizopus? You can tell. Then the example is, question is, name one plant that reproduces using leaf buds. So this also I just told you. And the lastly is, which fungus reproduces through spore formation? So this I might not have told you here. I might not exactly mention you. So you can just check out and let me know in the comment box. Okay, so thank you so much for joining the session. If you want to have more classes of class 10th with me of science subject, you can contact me through my Urban Pro profile. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.